One way that Satan tries to prevent marriages that glorify God is by tempting Christians to settle. Here are 4 things that usually happen when Satan is tempting you to settle. 1. If your unexpectedly long season of singleness is making you more open to worldly dating advice, this often means Satan is tempting you to settle. It might be tempting to ask oneself, why does God allow so many unbelievers to get married? I'm trying to obey him, but I'm still single. That doesn't seem fair. That feeling of resentment often grows when a Christian is single for much longer than they expected. Perhaps you broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend because you knew you were unequally yoked, but now they're dating someone else and you're still single. Or maybe you always imagined getting married young, but now you're in your mid-30s or 40s and you're wondering if it's ever going to happen. It's in moments like these where you might be weak and willing to try things you would have never considered in the past. As Jesus said in Mark 8:36, "For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul?" I believe this statement by Jesus is the answer to the question posed at the beginning of this point. Anyone can get married, but only those who follow God's word can get married to another believer and form a glorifying marriage. So even if you follow worldly dating advice and you get married, it won't result in a biblical union. And what's the point of that? You don't just want to be married. You want to glorify God in marriage. Don't settle. Satan is trying to tempt you. Never compromise on God's word, no matter what the results will be. Number 2, if you're justifying the idea of an unequally yoked relationship because you met someone who has everything you want except they are not a Christian, this often means Satan is tempting you to settle. Another statement that Christians sometimes make is, I've met someone who has everything I've ever wanted in a partner. The only problem is that they're not a Christian. What should I do? Could God be using me as a witness to them? When you're in the thick of it, this can feel really confusing. But when you take a step back, this type of situation is actually extremely simple. Just obey the Bible. The scriptures clearly state you are not to be unequally yoked in 2 Corinthians 6:14. They clearly state you should not marry someone who is an unbeliever, 1 Corinthians 7:39. God will never lead you to contradict his word. Yes, you may be called to witness to them, but you are not called to form an unholy bond with them. We are to be separate from the world, James 4:4. Besides, to say that someone has everything you want except that they are not a Christian is like saying I'm healthy in every way except I have a deadly disease. They don't have everything you want. They don't even have the first thing you want, which is Christ. Seems like it's probably just Satan tempting you to settle. Number 3, if your main motive for being with someone is that you are afraid no one else will want you, this often means Satan is tempting you to settle. When you look at someone in a dysfunctional relationship, you often say to yourself, why on earth is that person staying in that relationship? They could do so much better. Well, the reason that person is staying is because they don't agree with you. They think this is the best they can do. They think that it would be better to stay than be alone. Sadly, they are falling prey to Satan's lies and settling. If you think you deserve dysfunction, you are settling. If you think you should stay with someone because it's better than being alone, you are settling. If you think no one else will love you except this one person who is mistreating you, you are settling. It's not worth it. It's actually better to be alone than to be with the wrong person. Proverbs 21:9. And oftentimes the reason you have not found the right person is because you are clinging to the wrong person. God has a good plan for your life. If this relationship is not good, it's not God's plan. And 4, if you're putting up with huge red flags because you think they will go away if you marry this person, this often means Satan is tempting you to settle. Marriage is only going to magnify what you're already experiencing with the person before marriage. If the relationship is healthy and God-honoring before marriage, that will normally increase in marriage. However, if the relationship is chaotic and corrosive, that will normally increase in marriage too. It's illogical to choose a bad path thinking it will lead to a good destination. See Romans 6:19. If you start to think that marriage will solve the problems that you're having with this person, it's just Satan, yet again, tempting you to settle. Don't settle.